Excellent. Good evening. Welcome to everyone. It is Monday, October 21st, just after 6 p.m., and I'm going to call the Police Advisory Committee meeting to order. If we could, I've noticed watching these tapes lately that it helps if everyone introduces themselves. So I'm Rebecca Starr, Chair of the Police Advisory Committee.
I'm Katie Skeen, Vice Chair currently.
Ken Kravitsky, and I'm the Secretary of the PAC.
Excellent. Thank you, by the way. You weren't here. That's what you get when you don't attend a meeting.
Right.
But thank you for agreeing to step up in that role.
And, okay, I'll let you start.
No, that's fine. Next order of business is approving the minutes from the last meeting. Thanks, Ken, for circulating those today. Does anyone have any comments, additions, subtractions? You weren't there, so.
I was absent. I thought they were good minutes in that I felt like I was caught up on what I missed.
I actually thought they were excellent minutes. Thank you. They were clearly brought to mind what we had discussed. I don't have any comments from them. And I had asked Cheryl to get me any comments on that or on the other things, and I didn't hear from her, so we're good on those. So I guess I need someone I move to adopt them.
Can I move to adopt the minutes?
Yes.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, adopted. There's no one here and there's no one online, so I take it there's no community comment. We'll keep moving beyond that. The next item on the agenda is any discussion items, and we had gone through the things that we were working on last month. The only thing remaining was the anonymous comment process, which I've been informed is up and running. It's on the website.
Oh.
I checked at the Public Health and Safety, and that said it was up and running.
Okay.
Let's take a look.
That's true. I can't say I confirmed, but I forgot my computer.
Arbor.
I don't think it is. I think where Alan and I had left it was he had showed me like what it would look like.
So maybe he was saying that it was determined how to do it, but
and I
not
think
that it
he
was
wanted kind of like final say-so from us on whether to put it. And I was kind of mulling different things like where it should be, how to link to it in multiple places.
Okay.
But I think, yes, I think we should tell him he can make it live, and then we'll work on the links.
It's
And
not on the police webpage, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we want to move into this, but every time I look at the borough webpage and the police homepage, I'm reminded that there is so much more that can be done with those pages, just in terms of communicating how to contact the police, more information about their hours and coverage, and just the kinds of things that people might be looking for if they go to the police homepage, which right now is very minimal.
You said there was a place on the website that you're going to play that you had talked about. Do you know where?
So what Alan said was because it's being created through the MyGov portal, the space for that is like if you go to report an issue, that's where you get directed to the MyGov page. So
in order to file a complaint, you have to go to my issue on the police page.
So I think Alan's proposing like this would be the initial home for the link. But I'm like, is that really where everyone's going to go? That like they're going to go to the police homepage. So I think we need to have it in multiple places.
They have. So I will tell you that they have placed MyGov on the website. I don't know if it was, but you have to create your account. Like there seems to be.
You definitely need an account on MyGov in order to do anything. Actually, I'm saying that. I don't know that for sure. I remember the first time I used it, I tried to create an account, and I don't know if it was necessary or not, so I retract that.
Well, it's set up now, but I would imagine if we want anonymous comments,
You shouldn't have to
create an account, which inevitably will be linked in some way.
Right.
Mhm.
It has been confirmed that it is anonymous, so
Right, so there must be a way to use MyGov where you don't have
Have
to
an
have a user account, that it's just creating, let me go back to Alan's email about what this looks like. Um, So he says what he set up is a general suggestions and or comments option under the request
It's
folder
here.
for the police department.
It actually is here. Let's see if I can make a request.
on the police page,
Wait, where did you find it?
So if you go to MyGov, now go to requests. So click on that big banner. So it's clearly not user friendly.
so it's
Now-
not on the police page, it's not on the police page.
It's on the borough page.
Ah.
You can then click on requests. You can then scroll down halfway through and click on police. And you are able to make a request. I don't know, I'm
Oh,
gonna,
I see, okay. Yeah, so this, we need to think about making this user friendly. Matt, thank you for finding where.
So on the drop down, I'm on my phone, first of all. So on the drop down menu, it says, how do I report an issue?
so click on that.
And that's how I get to my note, right, okay.
So we're gonna see if I can just submit an anonymous request. It is requiring me to give my contact information at this point in time.
Well, but if there's no complaint, it just says, on where I'm looking at, it says, when I get to that MyGov, it says,
Once you click on,
permit applications.
there should be a request option.
Oh, yeah, this is not really, this isn't really user friendly at all.
Okay. So
Code
that's,
violations, address lookup, need help,
police is one of them.
not, I must have.
Here, let's take a look on the phone.
Yeah, no, I'm just confirming on here, so I get.
Okay, so
to
well,
here.
once you're here, you have to click on this banner. The banner is also weirdly written. So then you go to request. Then you scroll down to somewhere here is police department, and you can make suggestions or comments. And then here, but at least as near as I can tell right now,
Got it.
I had to put my contact information for it to go through.
Yeah, yeah, so this isn't actually operating. Sorry, I didn't realize that we had already added it, or we tried to test it. So it doesn't work.
So
So
I
we'll go
can,
back to Alan about that.
general suggestions and or comments, I'm typing in test,
Yeah, that's what I tried.
I'm not a robot, submit.
And it makes you do
Yeah.
it is current.
So
Okay, we've
I'll
all,
make a note to myself that
Yes.
the test of the suggestion box didn't work.
Now, it's possible that they tell us those are stripped away in some format, but it seems like that's an odd, like that
That's not, yeah, how to do it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
is currently hard to find.
so there's the issue, first of all, it doesn't do what we want it to do, which is truly anonymous at this point. Then there's the secondary issue, which is, it is so buried that no one is going to know at present to go there to file an anonymous complaint.
Right.
Or not comment.
So once we make it functional, then I think we need to think about like all the different places that will link.
You went. So can we just start with, you'll work with Alan to make it functional? Let us know when it's functional.
Yeah.
Just sort of send out a smoke signal to all of us that it's functional.
Yeah.
And then after that, I guess maybe at the next meeting or whatever, we can figure out the next.
Yeah, I mean, I started to, assuming that it was gonna be functional soon, I started to think about like how, we would need a link in a couple of places, the police homepage,
I mean, I think the stumbling block,
the reporting issue page, and And then just in general, I think as a separate topic, we need to make clearer how to contact the police.
Agreed.
So
Yes, that's definitely like how to contact them
I know
in
that's
general.
another thing we're talking
But
about.
it's related, so I think
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah. Just in general, just like, I mean, you know, when I used to help design websites, just threading things through so that no matter where you are, you can kind of find
the thing that
the
you're
thing
doing.
and just, you know, I'm not an expert in like user experience, but like, it's just thinking about how the average NAR might navigate the website. It's like one place to start.
My loose sense of it is that there's no plans to revise the borough website, that it's kind of, maybe appropriately, low priority.
And I don't think, I mean, I think working within whatever platform or design they have, like, just, we can just sort of feed things in.
Okay.
Like, for example, we might want to think about like that how do I
So,
banner thing, like maybe police should be part of that drop down and not.
Or even, I mean, you
Yeah.
go to the police page and it's just the list of officers.
Oh,
You can-
yeah.
You can also put on there.
It doesn't even say
Another.
call
It doesn't-
911 if you want to.
No, it doesn't, it says sign up for Smart 911. I have no idea what that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
so just so you know,
There's a deficiency
There,
there.
there's something going on with this webpage because let me see if I can refresh. When I just clicked on Chrome, there somewhere over here, and it's not coming through, there was a little tab thing that allows you to say remain anonymous or not.
Oh,
But it's there for a second, and then it disappears, so I'm not quite sure what is happening with that.
Okay.
So there's something going on with it that, the positive though is that I copied the link and I just opened it in a brand new browser. And so you can link directly to the request page for the police, which
Right.
means that you don't have to go through those 5 steps.
Okay, great.
Right.
So we know that we can at least get to that place. I think it would be beneficial for each of us, who manages our webpage? Must be Alan, right?
Yeah.
So presumably he can build out a little bit more of the police page within it. So we should all think of like, what are the things that should be on there, like general directive, call 911.
Yeah, I started kind of a little bit of a list for myself, like how to contact the police, a link to the anonymous suggestion box, maybe a little bit of a description of, well, I don't know, there was no reference to like the mayor on the police page, but I think maybe people should know that the police kind of come under the name of the mayor, like that relationship. Just a little bit of like about the Norwood
About
Police
the
Department or
numbers.
something.
Yeah.
And what they do, like, just something friendly, like, the Norwood Police Department, you know,
Photos.
some photos, right? And how they assist at community events and public safety, like, I don't know, just something to be like, who is this department? And then info about the hours and the coverage. I mean, obviously 911 is a 24-hour thing, but maybe that needs to be spelled out. And then people are going to be wondering, like, if I want to wander over to the police department during the day, is somebody there and what hours? I don't know, I'm just trying to imagine how people think about their access.
Until doing this work, I imagined I could just go knock on the door if I needed something, and there'd be
Right.
somebody there, I could walk in, and and it's fine that we don't have that, but I think we need to say, if you have any
We
concerns,
should
go to the borough office from
clarify.
X hours to Y hours.
Because sometimes, like on Facebook, somebody might be like, oh, I found a set of keys, what should I do? And people will be like, bring them to the police department. Like, well, okay, is that an option? What hours would
Mhm.
somebody even be there
Mhm.
to take a bunch of keys? Or should we on the police department page, should we say like,
Here's the lost and
go
found.
to the borough
Borough office.
office? Or, you know, if you have something, so that kind of thing. I started just a list of
That's
that.
great.
I don't know if, is that worth making into a Google Doc? Or
Sure.
does that make it, and then we can collaborate a little, or at least
Yes.
check it, or does that make it too discussion?
True discussion based ahead of time, that's a good point.
I mean, could it just be like
As long as we're
collaborative
not,
in the sense that we keep adding to it, and
Yes.
then we discuss it when we.
yes, that we can do.
Okay, so I'll create a Google Doc, and it's just a way to kind of,
Yes, just
Compile
don't put
notes.
comments that require answers or,
okay.
it's also not,
Deliberative.
it's not deliberative, because it's not like, should we be doing this, should we not be doing this, are we passing policies? So I think that generating this list, I'm thinking it through, I don't see any problem.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause I think there's a lot of potential here.
Yes,
I mean, in general, the Narberth Borough pages are very bare bones. I mean, the
Yes.
Borough Council, their page too, like, could have some photos and something friendly.
there's a tremendous, it is true every time I say that, you know, and I appreciate everyone's a volunteer, right? So
Yeah,
please,
yeah,
well, our staff aren't, but like they have enough that we throw on their plate that they have to take care of.
yeah.
The reaction I get from everyone is like, well, there's a lot of information there, and it actually is really true. There's a
There is.
tremendous amount of information
There is,
there.
yeah.
It just isn't graphically accessible.
Right.
The other piece is for a town that prides itself on small town charm, we don't put it through the website. Like, the website does not convey our brand.
Right, right. I
Which,
mean, I get it that the more detailed and personalized you make it, the danger is it being outdated. Like, as soon as you have a different council member, then, oh my God, somebody has to remember to take.
but that's a small,
So I understand wanting to keep it somewhat simple because everyone's a volunteer or it's overworked, but.
it actually is a great volunteer position for the town of web content creator. Not volunteer to do
I
that,
was gonna say,
but
let them know that you want to do it. Yeah. No, it is true.
Okay.
Okay, so we will create that list. All that we need to tackle right now is within the confines of the police page, what do we think belongs on there to further the communication that people don't know what the police department does, nor how to reach them if they need help.
Okay. I'm gonna create a doc.
Man, I thought that was gonna be like 2 minutes. That required a lot more conversation. I'm glad we
Oh.
checked it out.
Sorry, but I feel like we
No,
covered.
don't
I feel like
apologize.
we
I'm
covered
glad
the
we checked it.
communication piece too, which is sort of part of the charge, which I know that's what we really need to discuss.
Yes, no, I'm glad we checked this in here. It did, when Matt said that it was up, it didn't even, it should have, and it didn't occur to me to go check to see its functionality. So thank you for following up with that, with Alan and creating the Google Doc. The next item is, in fact, I'm sorry, is there anything more about that, about the anonymous comment process? Okay. The big discussion that I want to make sure we have time for is the new charge. So I gave you guys both, I sent it to you. This will be publicized once it's finalized. This will replace what was given to us when we first started, almost 2 years ago.
Right.
And it is much more streamlined. And one of the big things that I noticed as well is that the membership structure is very different. Like, there's no longer a requirement that someone be certified in, I forget what the community thing is, and that someone be a member of XYZ discussion group. I mean, it's much broader in terms of who can serve, which I think makes sense given where we are with our police department and the police force. The specific tasks are also, I think, a little bit more streamlined. So I actually don't have that much that I would change about it. I actually think it's a well thought through document, and I made a couple of comments that were incorporated at Public Health and Safety.
Okay. So, so has this already kind of past review, like with John Walco and stuff too, like I have CCC on here. Like,
He's
is this-
CC'd on it.
or-
It's a good question whether he has yet to give it a blessing or not. But it has not gone to Borough Council yet. It has, Matt and the members of Public Health and Safety have workshopped it, and they wanted to send it to us for whatever we want, if there's stuff that we want to do that's not in here, or that isn't encapsulated, or clarification. So I don't know whether it's been to John Walpole yet or not.
Okay. I guess one other thing that kind of stood out to me was under the community outreach and engagement task, the organizing of the outreach events every year to encourage positive interaction between the police and the community members. That felt like maybe that was stepping into the territory of like what the mayor and the chief do, where they have like coffee with a cop or whatever. Like, is that, are we trying to duplicate that kind of effort, or should we be doing something a little bit different that's not about encouraging interactions between the police and the community, but more like us just talking to like the NBA once a year, or us talking to, you know what I mean?
So,
Like, I was a little confused by that, like that seemed like that was us taking over that function.
at least how I read it was less about, there was a piece about encouraging relations between the police, but it was much more about the community input was the focus of the gatherings rather than the police relationships. It does have a piece about that of encouraging positive interactions, but to gather community input and concerns regarding public safety and policing, foster trust, like, I agree with you. I don't want to be I'm not in the business of like meet the mayor events.
Yeah.
But who do we go to make sure, like, are there any overall concerns, I think is an important function that we do several times a year, just like, how do we do check-ins of what's changed? And to that end, to me, the comment that I would give is, there's nothing about reviewing data. So we spent a lot of the first year reviewing data, and there were a couple of things that were yellow flags that we were like looking at and just want to make sure of. But so there's no reviewing of date like each year, and I don't know that we want it doesn't need to be the ongoing process, but I would imagine once a year we should take a look at that police data that we've looked at and said, how does this compare to previous years? Is there any, that's where I would see the flags or whatever.
So maybe under 3B, like where it says proposed action item, like based on community feedback and data, like or something, like should we stick data in there somewhere under reporting?
Including, I would say including but not limited to police reporting data or something like that.
So tell me where that is.
3B.
Okay.
Yeah.
Propose actionable items for the upcoming year based on community feedback and any identified areas for improvement.
And then what was the line you used?
Well, no, I was saying include,
Based on community feedback and or data, or
or
maybe
yeah.
data should be a C item, like add a third thing, like.
Yeah, I would actually probably say two could be review of police practices, policies, messaging, and data, and then one is serve as an advisory board for messaging, and two,
Okay.
each year review.
Yeah, maybe that's where it should.
I'm sorry, where I,
Under 2, the
Uh-huh.
review thing,
Uh-huh.
maybe data should be part of that headline, and then add a second bullet about,
messaging and.
Ken, how did you word it?
Each year review the OCR, I think, data, or the community policing data from the previous year. I don't know that we have to get
Maybe
so
you don't want
specific.
to specify too much. because
Right.
then-
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, it took us a whole year to like do that whole process that we did the
Yeah,
first time,
yeah,
and we wanna make sure that we're keeping it.
How about just like
Productive.
reviewing relevant data to advising on,
I mean,
Do we want to say that we want to do it each year? Like, what if something, I'm trying to think of this as like.
so regularly review, like this, that way when we can decide what regularly is.
Right.
But like, I probably would want to look at the high level data each year. I don't know that we need to drill down from the high level data each year, like, depending on what it says.
But if that's true, what we should do is, based on what we learned, is, I think, to actually articulate which data.
Yep.
So that, you know, once we're no longer on this committee and someone else is, they don't have to think like, okay, well, what data do I need to look at, what, you know?
So regularly review the high level community data, police data, especially or specifically.
Or to identify patterns if,
Okay, to identify patterns.
if relevant to recommendations for something.
To
I want to
identify,
hedge it a little so that.
I know,
If there's
for
nothing
potential
standing-
recommendations.
If there's nothing standing out, then we don't really have to do anything
Right.
with it, but.
The part I want to make sure we do look at is like around race and other demographics, like
Right.
Yes.
the high level community data specifically around demographics, pertaining to demographics, to identify patterns for potential recommendations.
Right.
All right, so.
I also want to be careful that we're not creating this. I agree with what you're getting at. And I want to make sure that we're not creating ourselves as.
Some kind of review board or something.
Right.
Yeah.
For the police chief. Like, I want him to continue to feel like we're partners with
Right.
doing, like, we're sort of the
So why don't we put this as a question to him of, we think it's and council might say to us, no, this group is reviewing the data. In which case, fine, I don't really care. I just want to make sure, because when we looked at it, no one else was looking at the data.
correct.
So as long as someone says, the mayor is looking at the regular data, public health is looking, whoever it is, I just want to make sure someone is looking at it. And most of it says, okay, great, we don't have to do anything with it. Like, most of the data we saw was benign. So,
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't specifically call out
demographics.
the demographics as like the thing we're mostly concerned, because there might be other things too we're looking for, like for example, like are most of the things in the police blotter traffic violation? Like, you know, there are definitely patterns we might be interested in.
Or suddenly we seeing way more.
So I'm okay
So
with
I'd
that.
rather just leave it as like, are we able to identify patterns that might be worthy of consideration or something?
So I basically in the minutes made those changes to the charge in red.
Okay, great.
There was no other changes besides that one that we've made that yet, right, that I missed?
The only reason I'm saying maybe do it differently is that this isn't supposed to be published until after it's approved. So, and the minutes will need to get posted after they're approved at the next,
Right, but I would assume that that's after the borough council's looking at it.
hopefully.
I mean, I'm sure we can tell them to take out or I can take out, but
You're saying you don't want the draft to be in the minutes, you just want the approved version in the minutes?
we definitely don't want the draft in the
We
minutes
don't
when it
want
comes
to
down
draft
to.
the minutes.
But so that's where, whenever I'm just doing it more to highlight to us, but so when we send it to Alan, we can,
Fine.
Um,
You know, I'm sort of going back to the community outreach events. I'm realizing what was sort of sticking with me about that is like the 2 to 4 a year, like,
it's a lot.
Why
it is a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot, yeah.
Maybe we don't need a number. Organize and facilitate.
Unless they actually are thinking of us as doing the like meet and greets of the mayor.
How about, and also organize and facilitate community, well, that would be worth asking, like, do they envision us doing that? Because otherwise, I would say organize and facilitate community outreach events and or surveys, right? Some of this would be
I like that.
surveys to gather community input, et cetera.
I mean, I don't think any of us are
I don't
imagining
think
this
we need
committee
any
being an event
number.
planning, party throwing.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it also just feels like it's adding like a middleman layer.
Right.
Like if the mayor and Chief Strang want to meet with the public, they should just do that, like just,
Yeah, I agree.
like, and without us being involved with the scheduling of it and the, you know.
I mean, what I'm hearing is, we might want to remove the foster trust and encourage positive interactions from here. Our job is not necessarily, I mean, our job wasn't, they're now giving us our new job, but our job is not to create the relationships between the police and the community where,
It's to identify that there is a need for more of that, or a need for X type of communication.
right, and,
Also, that piece is already in the thing above, the accountability of improving police community relations. So I feel like the specific task doesn't need to repeat that, because the tasks are supporting the charge, right?
so are you guys agreed with recommending that that comes out?
I think you can take it out, make it shorter. Yeah. So organize and facilitate community outreach events and or surveys to gather community input.
And concerns regarding public safety and
Yeah,
policing.
and then period, right. I don't think we need the rest. Because the task is supporting what's already stated above about what our purpose is.
Right, their intention of it is really spelled out in the second bullet point, it seems like, which is they do envision us doing events of some sort, but targeted towards specific groups.
Right, okay, so it's not coffee with a cop, it's like,
Right, that part makes sense.
Sort of, but there is still the question of, is that the role? Like, shouldn't the mayor be speaking directly to these community groups?
Yeah, like, are we supposed to be educating the public? Like, because when I read this, yeah, it seems like we would be advising business owners about crime prevention, which I feel like isn't really our,
Although presumably it would be us bringing the police to them to advise about.
right,
Katie, can I ask you an editing question?
yes.
Number one has a lot of like dots or whatever, and then it moves into later on the AB like format.
Oh, I see, there's, right, I see, yeah.
Would it make sense just to do this as ABCD, which is what I did for number two also?
I feel like doing AB, yeah, works, because then it's easier to refer to
Okay.
if we're ever referring to an aspect of the charge, right? You can say 1A, 1B.
You're just my editing guru on this stuff. I should.
I mean, the second bullet there, though, really is part of the first bullet, so maybe that's all A? Do you know what I mean?
I would,
Like,
okay.
it's not really like a separate task.
Okay, I'm down with that.
So maybe we just have A, B, C.
Yep.
That third one, to serve as a conduit for community concerns, does that mean that there should be something about us on the website?
I think it'd be with the anonymous or like the different,
Or like when we had conversations with groups that relayed certain themes, that we then conveyed that to them.
Right. No, I'm just curious though, like, I'm looking at the boards and commissions
Or like if someone knows that we're the police advisory committee, they might know to come to you, you know, neighbor Katie,
Right.
I have X issues, like with the police, like we should do something about it.
So I noticed none of the commissions and committees seem to have like the current members listed.
They should be listed on there.
So
If you click the,
click here to see.
if you go under government, boards and commissions,
Yeah.
everyone's name is on there. So like civil service.
Oh, I see at the top. Gotcha. Okay, I
Like,
skipped past
I-
that to the,
okay.
to the other tabs, okay. Yep, okay. Um, Okay. Huh. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess, so. I'm just not sure, other than these outreach events, how else are we a conduit? Because we don't have our contact info on the website, we want people to go through the anonymous suggestion box. So does that bullet even,
I mean, I
is
think,
that even necessary?
I think we could say once the website is updated, we could have one of our emails or some generic email. Didn't we create a Gmail at one point?
We do have a generic Gmail.
Of-
Yeah.
You can fill out this form if you would like to do it anonymously. If you would like someone to reply back, you can contact us here or the police chief here, or
How do you feel? Yeah. So-
someone has to actually check that email.
Right.
I think for this, it can be, I'm comfortable with the broad mandate that we are a conduit for community concerns. I don't know that it needs to be spelled out. In fact, I don't think it should be spelled out in this document how.
Okay.
But if we, you know, because we can all take to heart, that's our mandate, and the three of us can decide what we want to do by receiving emails, but then the next group, you know, whoever, these committees have to exist past the current members. So
Okay.
everyone might handle that slightly differently.
Okay.
Someone might put themselves out there at events. Maybe they want to table at every community event, come to the police advisory committee and learn about our police force. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll just keep that bullet. I mean, I think that was just my main concern with how that was being worded, and I like that we streamlined
One of
the
the things
first
that
bullet. And then I think Ken's point about the data, and then there isn't really anything else here.
There is one thing that I have started doing on my own that we haven't really taken on as a board that I'm wondering if it's encapsulated in this, which is keeping our finger on the pulse of best practices in small communities. You know, when we were first formed, there was some conversations about what do we want the police force to look like? You know, do we want this or that to replace it? Do we want, and you know, we don't have to go to that extreme to, you know, and I think our current police chief does a great job on policing practices, but, you know, are there things that we see out there that might make sense?
I don't know that I think that should be at the charge. I think it's a good thing. And some of that will come with, if we're an advisory board for the police and borough council on police policies and initiatives under consideration, presumably we're going to be doing some research on those areas. But I would expect or hope that the police chief is always well ahead of us on what the best practices are and what's going on out there is.
And I can imagine the mayor coming and saying, hey, I see X, Y, Z in a community. You guys, can you research?
So can we just
Something
add
about
like
it.
a phrase like conducting additional research when helpful, like to one of these sentences? Or, I mean, because I mean, in the very first paragraph, it talks about the committee providing recommendations, insights, feedback, police feedback. So those insights have to come from somewhere, right?
That's true.
We're not just kind of picking them off the grass. So maybe there's somewhere we could kind of slide in a phrase like, we would, I mean, just how EAC, more thinking about how we're comfortable with EAC, like EAC will research something, so can we
So
just-
maybe there's a C under to, when appropriate, and maybe we don't write when appropriate, but serve as a research, or maybe it doesn't feel right, but research,
How about we split, so there's two things under review. Serve as an advisory body for the, providing additional research when helpful, and then split the next one into a B, assisting in developing messages out.
okay? Because you're right, that,
Those are kind of two different things, like doing the advising and research and doing the communication piece.
okay?
That's true.
Make sense?
I've got myself a little bit stuck here and I'm having a hard time with this. We're accountable to Borough Council because that's who appoints us.
Right.
But under the review of police practices, policies, and messaging, we're serving as an advisory board for the police and Borough Council, but the Borough Council doesn't make police policy, that's the mayor.
Does stuff have to get approved by Borough Council though?
Money,
Borough Council is in charge of money, the police policy is directed by the mayor.
can we just go back for 1 second? Serve as advisory body for the police and borough council and police policies and initiatives under consideration. You had another, that,
Providing additional research when helpful,
great.
period, and then next.
I moved the next one down, but that's where I lost the other part. And I'm trying to do all the right strike throughs to make this actually coherent. Because it's a new document, I didn't do track changes, which I probably should have done, in hindsight.
So Rebecca, I mean, I'm thinking Borough Council was in that sentence because that's who we report to. But we are advising, like if Chief String comes to us with like a policy or a directive and says, how does this look to you guys? We are advising. So we kind of are working with those, but.
No, I think it's just it's an important tension to be aware of.
I think it needs to get taken a look at here, because to me, this isn't reading right. Like, we should not be advising policy, Borough Council on police policy, unless they're
Okay.
looking to de-accession of police force, right? I mean, like, I think we need to ask, to me, this is a Waco issue.
Right, I do think, well, you're right, so they
The
wouldn't,
reason that I started thinking about this is because what's not in here is that I can see this being a good resource for a mayor, right? Who says, like I just said, like, I have this idea, I'd like you guys to look more to see how we can do blah, blah, blah. But there's nothing in here about direct contact with the mayor.
And we're not supposed to be working for the police or the mayor.
No, I mean, we're the intermediary between all of the bodies.
right. So to me, I would say we should add service and advisory body for the police, comma, the mayor and borough council. Because that at least
Fine.
covers some of what you're talking about, because,
All the bodies.
yeah, like,
Yes,
and shouldn't borough council be capitalized?
yes.
Probably.
I just, I guess in this, is like, can't the mayor come to it, can't Andrea come and say, hey, guys, like, what do you think about it? Love. Like, the way that this is structured, it's only the police and borough council that can, even though we're supposed to be advising all of them.
Right. Okay, yeah, no, I think that that's good because it also makes clear that we are this sort of liaison, connecting. It's not binary, it's not the police, the borough council, the office, mayor,
The third
the.
Right, especially since the mayor's the one that shows up at these meetings. Borough council doesn't show up.
Correct.
Right.
But all of our reports, I mean, I make sure that we send them to Andrea and the chief also go to public health and safety.
All right, I think I caught everything.
I mean, if we start capitalizing borough council there, then we would have to do it.
I mean, it is capitalized most other places here.
Oh, yeah, there's all inconsistency. All right, I guess this is where my copy editing could come in, but.
I'm only a junior copy editor.
Before it goes formal or approved, we can do a final proofread.
With the editing that I've done lately, I don't do my Leave that to them. Okay, any other big, so you have this all in notes in red?
Yep, I did strike throughs and all that, so I will send it to both of you.
Okay, so that I can then pull it to, okay. And are you guys both okay with this annual report? I think it isn't gonna be as comprehensive as what we did that first year.
But my only other question, I think, is we no longer have terms, which I thought we had.
I'm sorry, we no longer have.
Didn't we, when we were appointed, weren't we appointed to terms? Or
We
no?
were.
Oh, you feel like that should be spelled out?
Is that, I mean, it just feels like that's no longer on here, but maybe that's not what this document, no, I'm sorry, this document's the charge, so it doesn't change that, I'm assuming.
Okay.
No, we did change the size. I recommended, like, it's a really good board. I don't think anyone should be asked to leave it, but I don't know that we always need to be 5 people. It seems like it's a large board for a limited capacity. But if we're planning 2 to 4 events a year, plus all this other stuff, an annual report and all that,
Yep.
I mean, could they, I guess, if we, the annual report detailing activities, fine. I mean, in some ways, that's kind of just like a précis of things that are captured in the minutes, right? So I'm just trying to, we don't want to make something super onerous.
right?
So it could just be a summary.
I think that's good. I just want to know that we're doing something.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. The 911 is very funny because it's all general, and then the 911 and the Ready Monaco thing is very specific to issues that we raised during that first year, which is fine, but it stands out as being very specific.
Yeah, I think because it is kind of a priority item, right? We
Right.
like that, more education around 911 is useful. You said something about how there's you were looking at different things around
311
the
came out,
township
yeah.
and the school
Oh,
district
right.
and
If we're gonna do this, it can't just be us, like, it can't just be a Little Marlboro, there needs to be some sort of partnership with the schools and with Lower Merion. I mean, this is
the
what all
education
communities are
piece.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, any other adjustments that we want to propose? If you get home and think about anything, just get back to me.
Right. When will we see your version?
I'm going to send it before leaving because it's all,
Okay.
some meetings it's like literally I have to try to clean up. Today is not one of them.
Excellent, thank you. And public health, we need to get it back, I'm just looking. public health and safety is,
So we don't need to vote on it, we just kind of send it back to them.
we just have to say that to them, right?
They approve it or not.
Correct.
Am I able just to send this to the two of you to review, or is that a issue specifically for that document? Because sending it to Cheryl doesn't help in terms of the edits we just made.
I think you should send it to her and I'll just give her a call.
Okay.
Since I had asked her if she had any comments about it.
And I'll include Alan, but I'm going to tell him specifically.
You don't need to include it because they haven't been approved. He doesn't need to get them until they have.
Oh, we give it to him after their approval, not the draft ones? Okay.
Correct. So if you could send him the ones that we approved today, that would be great.
Yep.
The ones from this week don't have to go to him yet.
All right, well, as soon as we tell me, I put down the closing of whatever, the adjournment, then I'll
Oh,
say.
yeah, do I need a motion? Anyone want to move to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, there's only one of you.
I'll second, 58,
Oh,
58, got him under the wire.
excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
I think you can stop the recording.
And then our next